Hi, welcome to my channel. This is a complete beginner's Blender tutorial. By the end of this video, you'll be making this cute Hello Kitty 3D model. Okay, so I've just finished the tutorial for the Hello Kitty, the beginner's Hello Kitty tutorial, and I realized I did not show you how to move things around, so I'm going to insert this at the beginning of the video. To zoom in and zoom out, you're going to scroll in and scroll out on the mouse wheel. To move the objects around in space, you're going to hit shift and middle mouse and move your mouse around. To look around the object, you're just going to hit your middle mouse and move around. And you'll be using those moves throughout the video. So shift, middle mouse to move everything, just middle mouse to move around the object, scroll in, scroll out. Alright, hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Okay, so when you first open Blender, this is about what you should see. Just a plain cube. I'm going to go over some of the basics really quickly. Let's start right to left. Over here we have our scene collection, which basically contains all of the elements that are appearing in this scene right now. We have our cube, which is the first thing that's always going to pop up. Right here, we can make that disappear. We have our camera, which is up here. And to view that camera, we can click this camera icon over here. It just shows us what the camera is looking at. We'll play with that a little bit more later. Then we have our light right here. Now, even though this is a light, we're not seeing any light shine on it because we are not in render mode just yet. We will also talk a little bit more about that later. Below our scene collection, we have a toolbar that lets us control some properties. For example, if I click this cube, I can change its material, I can look at its data, I can add a modifier to that. We'll also be exploring that further a little bit later. But if I wanted to change anything with this cube beyond, modeling it and sculpting it, I would go over here. I can also mess with some of the render properties. Don't look too much into that right now, but just to tell you what's over there. This is kind of mimicking how we look at this cube. Right now it's long. We can see that the x-axis is going this way, y is this way, z is this way. Pretty important if you want to orient yourself at any time. You want something facing, one direction. You can see, oh, this is where I am in this space right now. I'm looking up at the z, things like that. Right now we are viewing our model in solid mode. There's also wireframe, and there's also rendered. Don't click this just yet because it may slow your computer down, and you're going to want to make sure you save before you jump into render. So right now we're just going to leave it in shader mode. This is what that wireframe looks like. Here, this is a button I use quite a lot. Lets you see through the object. And this is useful when you get to a really complicated scene. And let's just say I add in like another circle. If I wasn't in this see-through mode, I would not see that circle. So just pop this on whenever you want to maybe do work within an object, or you've got something inside of something. Here it just gets rid of the grid that you are working on. That's useful if you wanted to take a screenshot of what you were working on and you didn't want to render it. This also gets rid of these options over here, so if you take both of these off, it makes for a nice screenshot, but we need them right now. Okay, now let's move over to the left. We have our toolbar, excuse me. We have the move option right here. Pretty self-explanatory, you can move it. Another way to move the object is to hit G on your keyboard. That's a quick little shortcut. You'll find me using G a lot in the tutorial because once you get your shortcuts down, it just makes it a lot faster. So let's say I wanted to look at the y-axis, I want it to be facing this, and then I click G, it's only going to move like this. It's not going to be moving out in space. If I was like this, it's moving everywhere. Next we have our rotate, again, self-explanatory. You can rotate our object with it, or you can do shortcut R and rotate. So just to review, G to move, R to rotate. Then we have the scale option. The scale option works in a couple different ways. You can scale it all together, or you can scale it along one side. The shortcut for the scale is S. So that's all together. Alright, let's move along to the top. I'm gonna hit Control Z, which is just undo, so we can get our square looking back to where it was. We see right now we are on object mode. Let's go to edit mode. Don't worry about the rest of these right now, but let's go to edit mode. Now our object is showing us points that we can modify. Right now we are on vertex mode over here. Now, there are 3 different modes you can modify your object on. Like I said, right now we're on vertex mode, and as you know, vertex are edges that come to a point, so that's a vertex, that's a vertex, that's a vertex. These are all vertex. You can select them, and you can move them. Again, I told you, you can also use shortcut G. Now we can go to edge mode, and we can do the exact same things, but with the edges of the shape. Right here, move it, or G, move it. Let's move along to face mode. Exact same thing, but with the faces of the shape. This cube has, what, 8 faces right now? I can click on any of them to move them around. Pretty simple so far, right? And there are shortcuts for switching between these. You might want to switch between them quickly. One is going to take you to vertex mode. 2, and this is on your number pad. 2 is going to take you to edge mode. So 1, 2, see I'm switching between them. And 3 is face mode. So that's a pretty easy shortcut to remember because it's in numerical order. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Alright, I'm going to hit Control Z, Command Z if you're on an Apple product. I'm going to hit Control Z just to undo all this stuff that I did. Next thing we're going to look at up here is the add. This is how we're going to add things into our scene. Now, I wouldn't even worry about this button up here. You need to get used to doing Shift A. That's going to be the quickest thing. Shift A, remember, Shift A to add. Shift A, A for add. Shift A. Can add different objects. I'm hitting G to move this around. Pretty self-explanatory. Also, if you did notice, I hit Shift Add, and I went to Mesh, and I went down to UV Sphere. If you do not see that UV Sphere in your meshes, that means you do not have a certain add-on, and I'll show you how to get that add-on in just a second, because we're going to be using that sphere for our Hello Kitty model today. Up here, we're not going to click through all of these again. I would not click shading, I would not click rendering, I would not click geometry nodes if you have an older computer model, because these will slow it down. And I would definitely not click any of these without saving your model. So for example, if you were in layout and you modeled this, character, modeled this house, and you were ready to start putting color on it, you were ready to start sculpting, save first, because any of these, clicking them will slow your computer down. We'll be exploring sculpting and rendering a little bit in this tutorial. Okay, now let's get into some of the add-ons. So to do that, we're going to go over to Edit, Preferences, and I'm going to already have them, so it's not going to look quite the same as yours. Click over here at Add-ons, go into this search bar here, type in Bool Tool, why can't I say that? Type in Bool Tool, I think it says download or something, I'm not sure what it says, but download that, Bool Tool. Also download Extra Mesh Objects. Again, go up to the search bar, type in Extra Mesh Objects, I already have it, and download that as well. And if anything throughout this tutorial doesn't show up for you, these are all the add-ons I have. So you might want to come back to this part in the video and just mass download all the ones that I have here, just to make sure we're on the same page. But as far as I know, the only add-ons we'll be using today is Bool Tool and Extra Mesh Objects. But these are all the add-ons that I have right now. Okay, one more thing before we get started. We're going to go over to File, External Data, and we're going to click Automatically Pack Resources. Now what that does is, and no files have been packed because we don't have any yet, but what that is if I'm adding in reference photos, and I click out and I X out and I reopen Blender, those reference photos are going to be blank because the computer is not knowing to save it. This is me saying, hey, any photos that I load into here, I want you to pack those resources and keep them for me for next time, or if I send this file to someone else, they'll also see the photos that I add in. So make sure you click that. It doesn't make too big of a difference, but if you forget to click this and you're using reference photos in your file and you reopen it, they'll just all be gone. You'll have to just put them back in. Okay, let's finally get started. So we're going to add an object, and you remember that's Shift A for Shift Add. We are going to add an image, and we're going to start adding our reference photos. Now we're not going to click reference, we're going to click mesh plane. I have added some reference photos down in the description of the Hello Kitty we're going to be modeling, so you're going to go wherever you put that on your computer and pull those up. I'm about to pull them up. You should have a front facing Hello Kitty, backwards facing Hello Kitty, sideways facing Hello Kitty, and her bow. So 4 things you are adding. You can just click one and then hold down Shift to click them all at the same time and import images as plane. There we go. Now, they're here, but we cannot see anything. That is because we need to go over here to this little drop down shading menu, click it, underneath color, click texture. So anytime you're adding in images as planes and you don't see anything, make sure you go up there, click this so you can see your images. Now while they're all still selected, don't click anything. I am going to click our shortcut S, and remember that stands for scale. I'm going to scale them up so they're all being scaled at the same time. Then I'm going to go over to move them up. Now I want to look at them straight forward. Right now I'm looking at them in a 3D space, but I want to look at them in a 2D space. So I'm going to click this so I can look at it flat. If I want to look at the top of them, I move up here, but that doesn't look like anything because they're planes. If I want to look at the back of them, I click that. So just keep clicking around until you get where you want. That's up and down. It's pretty, you just have to play with it to get used to it. But yes, I want to look at them straight forward right now. I'm going to click this button so I can see through them. And I want Hello Kitty's feet to be on this green line right here, so it'll be easier for us to work with. So I'm going to move that up, and she's about on this line. Also, we don't need this cube anymore, the cube that we started with. So I'm going to delete that cube. Okay, I'm going to turn off see-through mode. Now we have our reference images, but they are not in the correct position. The front one is, but this back and this side one and this bow are not in the correct position. So in order to use these reference photos the most effectively, I'm going to line them up as they would be most useful for the model. So for this side one, I want this to be facing this way. So when we're working on the model right here and we turn this way, we can see that image here. If that makes sense, hopefully. So I'm clicking this side profile. I'm clicking R, which you remember means rotate. Now I want to rotate this 90 degrees. So I'm just going to type 90. That doesn't seem right, so I want it to be 90 but facing along the Z-axis. So I'm going to click Z. There we go. I'm going to move this back in space, but it's kind of facing the wrong way because Hello Kitty is facing us, but now Hello Kitty's facing the other Hello Kitty. We want everyone to be facing the same direction. So now I'm going to do R, rotate 180 degrees so she turns around, and then I'm going to hit Z. Now it's looking more like it's in position. I'm just going to move this over here. And then for the back of Hello Kitty, we're going to try to line this up directly with the front. by hitting that see-through option. We're going to face it on a 2D plane. I'm moving this around with G, so it's a little bit easier trying to get it right on top. Then I'm going to hit S to scale it down a bit, just an approximation that they kind of are right over each other. Hitting G again, hitting S, just keep, I'm still adjusting. The feet are way bigger. There we go. Just an approximate. Alright, taking see-through off. Then I'm going to move it back. Actually, I think I have these swapped. So that'll go here. This will go here. Okay. So after moving some things around, everything, your planes, we're not worrying about the bow right now. Matter of fact, you can go ahead and turn this off. So all the Hello Kitties should be facing the same direction. She's looking this way, she's looking this way, she's looking this way. Alrighty, we're gonna start with the front of Hello Kitty. So we're gonna turn off this back view so it's not in our way. We're going to go to our 2D layout so we can only see this one very clearly. And actually at this point I'm going to start a new collection. I should have started with that. That's my bad. So collections, like I said, this is where it holds all the elements you see on the scene. Now it's easy for these collections to get really messy if you don't organize them or name them, which I am terrible at. So let's go ahead and make a new collection. I'm going to right click on scene collection here, new collection. I'm just going to call this one model. Also going to make a new collection called references. And I'm going to take these, all the references, click one, hold down shift, click the last one, and I'm going to drag them into references. So it's just nice and neat. And remember, these are the two that just are automatically here, so we're not going to worry about those. When you load in the scene, you get a cube, you get a camera, you get a light, but we're not messing with those right now. Also, whatever box is highlighted, that's what collection is going to be collecting your new materials. For example, right now if I have collection highlighted, hit shift A, I don't know, I add a cube. That cube is going to be showing up in this right here. But I want it to be a model, so I'm going to click this box. So whenever I add something now, it's going to show up in this collection. So make sure you have model selected, add my rounded cube. This is one of the extra objects that show up after you download that add-on. So if you do not see that rounded cube, go back to the beginning of this video and make sure you downloaded that add-on. Rounded cube. Gonna move it up a bit. So right now what we're doing is blocking out. We're just trying to get the general feel and shape. It's not gonna be too accurate right now. I'm scaling it with S to kind of be where her face is. And then with this scale, I want to scale it along this side. So I'm gonna bring it down a bit. Watermelon shape, that's about right. Again, it's not perfect right now, we're just trying to get the general shape and feel of Hello Kitty. I'm going to duplicate this item by holding down, by first selecting this item, making sure it has orange outlines, and hitting shift D, duplicate. Now when you first duplicate an item, it's going to have this white outline around it, meaning when you move your mouse, it's going to be moving crazy. And I don't want it to be moving crazy, I want it to be exactly where it was. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to shift D again. It's got the white outline. And I'm going to click again to lock it in place. So now I'm moving my mouse, it's not moving with me. I'm going to take the move button, bring it down, and I'm going to scale it down to about where her body is. Playing with this just a little bit, just to get a general idea. Again, not perfect at all. That's kind of about right. Now, we have some repeating items. Some mirroring items, I should say. Her ears, her arms, and her legs. We want them to be the same exact on each side. So how are we going to do that? I will show you. Shift A, another rounded cube, mesh, rounded cube. We're going to scale this down. G to move it over here. I'm going to squeeze it out a bit. S, scale it down. R, I'm going to rotate it. G, moving it over. That's good. I want this same exact thing over here. So I want it to mirror over her body. So I'm going to add something called a modifier. Remember this little section over here I was telling you about earlier? Well, now we're going to get into it. If I, with this object selected, I'm going to go over to my modifiers tab, making sure that this matches with what I have selected. See, I'm not doing a good job right now because this should be labeled, so it's kind of easier for me to tell, but we'll label things a little later. So this is matching, right? I'm going to add a modifier. The modifier that I want to add is mirror. This is already showing up for me because I've already used it. But for you, you might have to type out mirror. Again, if that's not showing up for you, you might want to go back to the beginning of this video and look at the add-ons that I have and make sure you also have those add-ons. But I believe it should automatically be there. Click mirror. We want to mirror this over the body. So on mirror object, we're going to select this eyedropper, and I want to mirror around this body. So click. Still not mirroring. Why is that? Because right now it's mirroring over the x-axis. I want it to mirror over the y, right here. We also want these legs to mirror the body as well. So instead of making a new object and adding a new modifier, I'm just simply going to Shift D, duplicate these, G to move them, and now they're already mirroring. I'm going to R, rotate. I'm going to scale them up a bit. Like this, just getting them about in place of where her legs are. And that's looking pretty good to me. Again, I'm going to Shift D, and I'm clicking again to lock them in place so they don't keep moving around. I'm going to G, move them up to where the ears are. S, scale them down. R, rotate, moving them, for the most part, in place. Perfect. Now for the bow, we are going to be making it separately, but just for the point of a placeholder, I'm just going to quickly Shift A. And you don't have to do this, but this is just, I like to have placeholders so I know what the look is. But we're not going to actually be keeping this bow. This is just to show us. I'm going to Shift D, duplicate it, Shift D, duplicate it. Just as a placeholder. Alright, so now I'm going to turn off that see-through mode. And look, we have Hello Kitty. We're all done. Thanks for watching. No. Well, now we have a pretty good blockout. Of how this Hello Kitty should be formed. So now I'm going to select all of my models. I'm going to go to side view. I'm going to hit G. I'm going to try to align this with this side view here. That seems good. This will help us begin to push things to where they need to go on this side. Maybe bring these out a little bit more. Bring this in a little less. Select this bow here. And to select these all at one time, just in case you don't know, I'm selecting one, hitting Shift, and I'm selecting the other one, so they all move as one. We'll bring this bow out a little bit, like that. I'm gonna hit see-through mode so I can see what's going on over here. It's got a tail here, so I'm gonna hit Shift A and I'm gonna add another rounded cube. G to move it over here. S to scale it down. G to move it again. S to scale it down. Putting it semi in place. Alright. Let's turn that off. Looking pretty good to me. I'm gonna make these just a little bit thicker. Ears. Not that big. Not that big. Let me see. See-through mode. That seems okay. Yeah, that seems better. Okay, I think we are ready to begin sculpting and making this Hello Kitty look like Hello Kitty. So, like I said, these may or may not slow down your computer. So before anything, we're gonna save. And just save, call it whatever you want to. Also, before we go over to sculpting, let's start naming some of these things. Alright, I'm gonna click on this, double click and just put ears, head. I'm not gonna name this because this is just a placeholder. Body, arms, legs, and let's head over into sculpting mode. So when we go into sculpting mode, we'll be sculpting whatever object we were last highlighting. So I want to start with sculpting the head. So I'm going to click the head and I'm going to go into sculpting. Beautiful. Now at the bottom it says object has oh, it's gone. At the bottom it just popped up, object has non-uniform scale, meaning that we've moved this object around from being the circle that we loaded in. It's all stretched out now, and so Blender is just letting me know. If we wanted to fix that, I'll show you real quick. If we wanted to fix that, hit Control A, Command A on Apple. Apply all the transforms that we made. So we've moved this location, we've rotated it, we scaled it. So I just want to apply all the transformations that we've done. And then now our center is over here. I want to recenter it, so I'm going to right click over it, set origin to center of mass. So I've just applied all the transformations that we've made. We'll eventually have to do this to every single one because we've transformed every single one in some way. But yeah, if you see that pop up, that's just how you fix it. It's just letting you know, like, hey, you've moved this object around and you've stretched this object around. You know, do you want to complete those transformations? So that's how you do that. So again, highlighting this object, let's go to sculpting. Again, our references have disappeared, so we're gonna go up here, texture, and they're back. Now sculpting is a whole nother ballgame. We're not gonna get too into it. What we're gonna focus on is the elastic grab and the grab for now. So really the elastic grab, the difference is the elastic grab grabs large spaces, Control Z to fix that. Sorry, Control Z, and then the grab is just one point at a time. But we want bigger spaces, so we're gonna do. I mostly use the elastic grab for my own work. We're gonna up that radius, so now we can manipulate this and try to get it looking a little bit more like Hello Kitty. I'm gonna backspace that. Now we want this to be uniform among both sides. So I'm going to click this over here, the Y, and you should see 2 dots on both sides, letting you know that you are mirroring these moves on both sides. And you won't be able to mess with anything else because we highlighted the face. And they're all separate objects. Okay, so let's start with the front view. Let's turn on see-through mode. Let's begin starting to move this face around to kind of fit more with Hello Kitty. Just clicking, dragging, eyeballing it. That seems good. I'm going to click this side view. I'm going to push this back. Pulling, pushing, trying to just get it as close to the reference as we can. Pulling up here. Seems good. Now I haven't forgotten about our back view. Let's go ahead, I'm going to move this down out the way. Let's go ahead and go to references. Let's turn off our front, turn on our back, and move to our back view so I can see it. Just making sure things align here too. There we go. I'm going to turn off back view and turn front back on. Alright, I'm going to turn off see-through. See what we're looking at, see what we're working with. Now some things I don't like that I did in see-through mode, so I'm just going to fix it by eye without looking at the reference. It's looking a little like she got hit upside the head. Little adjustments. There we go, that's looking good to me. So now I'm going to go back to layout. And what we just did here, we're going to do the same to every single element. Just pushing and pulling and getting it to line up with our references. So let's now move on to body. Highlighting body, going over to sculpting, again non-uniform scale. Let me just go ahead and apply all these changes real quick. So Control A, all transforms, set origin, center of mass. And if I did that too fast, I'll explain it one more time. Control A, all transforms, right click, come down to set origin, come down to origin to center of mass surface. Okay, everything should be done. We're going to go back to body, go back to sculpting. There we go. Okay, see-through mode. I'm going to again make sure it's mirroring the y-axis. Don't start until you see these two dots. Let you know that you are mirroring. I'm going to be pulling these over, pushing this up a bit. And sometimes you'll be making moves that look good here, but when you turn it off, they may look a little strange, so you'll just have to eyeball it. Alright. Oopsies. I'm noticing, she does have little thumbs here. So what we can do is hit Shift A, rounded cube, go to 2D mode, size this down with S, remember, G to move it, S, G, I guess her thumb's about right there, and then we'll mirror that across her body. Cool. And we'll be able to merge that and make that look cleaner. Oh, where did that go? Oh, I gotta put it on her, so let's move this back about right there. Alright, looking pretty good. Yep. So again, the bow, that'll be very last, so don't worry about that. Remember, we had that separate photo for the bow. Okay, so next we are going to begin really refining these shapes. And to do that, we need to first merge these items, except for the bow. We need to merge these, and then we need to go to sculpting, and we need to remesh, which I will talk about in just a second. So for merging, what I always do is I duplicate my collection just in case something goes wrong. Because once you merge, these no longer become separate objects and I can't edit them separately. So if I merge and I realize, actually I don't like how this is looking by itself, I go back to my backup and I start over. So let's go ahead and create ourselves a backup, duplicate collection, and then let's just turn this collection off. So these two eyedropper things, this one basically, like we've been using with the references, this one hides it for you. The camera hides it for, well, the camera. So even though I can't see it, if I were to render my scene, all this would still be showing up, even though I turned it off, because the camera can still see it. So if you want something to be hidden to you and the camera, make sure you hit the camera too. Sometimes that happens where I have my reference photos and I'm done with the scene and I want to take a picture and render my object, and then they just pop up like ghosts because I forgot to turn them off to the camera. So with the one that is on, before we can merge these objects, we have a couple modifiers that we need to clear. So this is what would happen if we try to merge these objects without clearing the modifiers. I'm going to click them all. Remember, I'm hitting shift to select them all. I'm going to right click and hit join. Looks crazy, doesn't it? Because we did not set those modifiers that we made. So let me control Z. Let's set those modifiers. So remember, we modified each mirroring object. So let's start with the ears. Those are mirroring. Let's apply those modifiers. Now these two are one object. So I also want to set this change. And remember earlier we were setting changes by hitting Control A, all transforms, and then recentering the cursor. So now it's in the center of these objects because this is one object. So you don't want to apply your modifiers prematurely because now they're no longer acting as a mirror, they're acting as one object. But we're ready to do that. But make sure you don't apply this until you're ready. Apply, Control A, all transforms, set origin. There we go. So when we click through this Hello Kitty, she should have no more modifiers on her. I'm going to treat this, the body, as both the body and the shirt. That'll make sense a little later. But in that case, we're going to want to shift duplicate it, click to lock it in place. With this duplicated version, one is going to be the body, other one rename to shirt. And we'll mess with that later. So just go ahead and turn that off. Let's go ahead and join them. So click the ears, the face, the body, the arms, thumbs, the feet, and do not forget the tail. And then right click, join. Now this is all one object. Ooh, except for the bow. Remember, we just made a big change, so we're going to Control A, apply those transforms, and set our origin. So now it's at the center of the new objects we've made. And now we can begin to really refine this object and get it looking smooth. So let's go to sculpting it. Let's save. Almost broke my own rule. Save before we click that. Let's save. Go into sculpting. Turn that off. And we are going to remesh. So what remeshing does is, well, let's look at the faces on this object. Now remember, the faces are these square planes that we see. Right now we see, a number of faces, and this number is not enough to modify, if that makes sense. You need a certain number to be able to use some of these tools. This is working pretty good, but some of these tools, if doesn't have enough faces, it won't work. Let me give you a better example really quick. Let's say if I add a cube. If I were to have this highlighted and go into sculpting and try to do literally anything, I'm clicking all this, it's not doing a single thing. This kind of moved a little bit. It's because it does not have enough faces to do anything with. So when you remesh, you're giving your object a couple more faces to be able to be played with, right? That's basically the idea. It gets a little bit more complicated, but for this beginner's tutorial, we're not going to get into all that. So we want to remesh this so we can do a little bit more with it. So we're going to remesh. In order to do that, we're going to hit R on our keyboard, and it's showing us the size of our planes right now. I want them to be a bit smaller, so I'm going to move my mouse out. Now, listen. Do not make this too small. You will crash your computer if you do something crazy like that. We don't want it that small. We want it maybe about here. This is like a very simple model, so it doesn't have to be that small anyways. Maybe about here. It doesn't have to be the exact number, but right here. Whatever you do, just don't go too small. I made that mistake and crashed my computer. Click to confirm, and now we're going to Control R, remesh. And now our planes got way smaller, see? And now they're able to be manipulated a little bit more. So, with this, we can do a number of things. But what I want to do mostly is smooth this out. So I'm going to go to the smooth tool, and let me make sure I'm over the y-axis. Now the smooth tool can be really fun and really dangerous. Right now it's at a high strength and a big radius, so if I start smoothing, it's going to like mess up what I've done. It's kind of like erasing almost. So be aware of how powerful the smooth tool can be. I usually like to do at a really low strength and just begin smoothing it out a bit. I'm going to change my radius. I'm going to smooth around the neck here. Now in some of these areas, I want the line to be a little bit sharper. See in our reference how the transition from her neck to her body is like a sharp line. We've got a kind of like a smooth line. For that, I'm going to go to this crease polish tool, and I'm just going to begin adding a crease here. That's all that does. Adds crease. So after you've got it about where you want it, we're going to go back to layout, and we're going to shade this smooth. So to do that, we're going to right click. We have three options. We can shade it smooth, shade it auto smooth, and shade it flat. Flat, this is what we're looking at. This is shading it flat. Smooth, self-explanatory, it shades it smooth. This is how it's going to look in render view when we take our final picture. And then auto smooth, hard to explain here. Let me give you a better example of auto smooth, what it does. Let me add a cylinder, move it over here with G. See how we have these planes on the side of the cylinder, each of these rectangle planes, and we have a circle plane and a circle plane. If I were to shade this auto smooth, it only smooths out the planes, but it keeps this hard edge. Auto smooth is the computer basically recognizing, okay, this is a hard edge, I'm gonna leave it. But these are soft edges, so I'm gonna smooth it. So it's smooth based on those calculations. So if you don't want something to look too smooth, you'll probably want to click auto smooth. So any hard lines that you have will be left. If I were to shade this completely smooth, it would shade, I keep saying shade, it would shade even these hard lines, which looks weird, right? So for something like this, you would want to auto smooth it. And again, shading flat, you would get those planes. Maybe if you wanted like a low poly design character, you would leave it flat. Okay, so that's to explain the different shade modes. But for this Hello Kitty, we want to shade it smooth, which is what I have it on. So with that shading smooth, we're going to go back to sculpting. And I'm just going to continue to iron out these wrinkles with the smooth tool. Okay, I'm pretty satisfied with this shape, so I'm going to go back to layout and should we do the bow? No, not yet. We'll save that for last. Next, we are going to bring back our references, our front reference, and I'm going to show you how to do the whiskers, the eyes, and the nose. You're going to go to see-through mode. Make sure we have this highlighted because we want these new objects that I'm about to add to end up in this collection. Shift A. We're basically doing what we already did with the eyes and the nose. That's nothing new. Add a cube. S to size it down. G to move it. I want to warp it a bit. S. G. About like that. I'm going to add a mirror modifier. Oopsie, stop. Over the face. Then I'm going to take this off so I can make sure it's looking alright. It's got to be on the face, doesn't it? And I'm actually going to flatten them this way. That. Bring them out. See how we're looking. I'm just gonna maybe size them up with Control S a bit. I'm liking that. Alright, we're gonna do the nose. Actually, let's name this eyes. Okay, Shift A. One thing I forgot to say. Whenever you're adding a new object, make sure you're always in object mode, not edit mode, okay? Just for example, if I have this selected and I go into edit mode, which like I said, see we have a lot more vertices now, a lot more vertexes, a lot more edges, and a lot more faces, because we've done a lot. But if you're ever in this mode where you can edit by vertex, and you add a new object, let's add a new object, add that cube, and then I go back to object mode, this is now one object because you added it while you're in editing mode. So you don't want to do that. Control Z. So always add an object in object mode. So each new object that you add is a separate object. If that makes sense, hopefully. Shift A. Rounded cube. And me doing rounded cubes for everything is just a personal preference. You could maybe use a sphere. You could maybe make this out of a cube somehow, but I think a rounded cube is just really easy to work with, in my opinion. So for this nose, we want this to be exactly centered. So we want it to be on the same position on the Y, right, as this entire body is. So in order to do that, I'm going to have this body selected. I'm going to go over to the object properties, and I'm going to see where it's located on the Y. It's right here. I'm going to click that. I'm going to control copy that or command copy. I'm going to go back to my circle. I'm going to click Y. I'm going to control V, paste it. See, I had the wrong thing selected. I'm going to go here. Control V, paste it, enter. So now it's centered on the Y. Now it's at the center of this. It may not be at the center of our photo because it's a little off by now, but it's at the center of our actual model here. So I'm going to loosely get this nose to be like our reference photos. Drop here. I'm going to take off that. Push it back. Flatten it out just a bit. Actually, bring it out. Bring it out a bit. See how that's looking? I like it. We've got our nose and eyes, and for these we don't have to do much. Just shade it smooth. And they're done. We don't have to do any manipulating to those. They're pretty simple shapes. Now for her whiskers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add something called a curve. So again, make sure we're in our model box. I'm going to Shift A, I'm going to go to curve, and I'm going to add, it's at the top, if it lets me get there, I'm going to add a path. Right here. This is our path. Isn't it great? So right now this is just a stick. It's not even a stick, it's just a hair. We want to give this hair some depth. So let's go down to data. Let's move down to geometry. Let's give it some depth by just coming up like this. It doesn't need to be that big though. Maybe this big? And actually let me size this down and let me rotate it by hitting R, 90, Z. And let me get it into place so I know how big I want it. I'm gonna go to see-through mode, G, S, G, and I'm gonna size it to be about the same width as the whisker that I see. So about here. Alright, so here's our path that we've created. We've created a nice little tube. Right now this tube is open-ended. You can see through it like a straw. I don't want that for the whiskers, so I'm just gonna tap fill cap. That just closes it. Okay, so now I want this whisker to wrap around her face. So now we finally get to go to edit mode. Well, let's not go just yet. I'm gonna move this back so it's actually touching her face. There we go. Yes. Yes, okay. So now I'm going to go to edit mode. And you could hit this drop down menu or you can hit tab on your keyboard to go to edit mode. I prefer tab, but you know, edit mode right here. So now we can edit this object. Remember, we could edit by vertex, edge, or face, but because this is a path, we only have the option to edit it by vertex. So to get this to wrap around her face, I'm going to hit this last vertex, push it back until it's in it, like that maybe, push it back, push it in, like that, push it back, push it in, push it back, push it in. Pretty easy. And I want this one to be tiny and small, this vertex. So I'm going to hit Alt and I'm going to hold down S. I'm going to pull to make it bigger or push to make it smaller, like that. Just so it looks whisker-like. Even though that's not how our reference looks, this is, you know, our creative input to it. And I think I'm going to leave the one in the back big. Just push it in like that. Let's hit tab to go to object mode and see what we're working with. I'm liking that. So we're going to Control A, all transforms, set origin to surface. And we're also going to add a modifier to this path. Mirror, as you can guess, mirror over the head, so we have them on both sides. Let's also rename this path to be whiskers. I'm going to go to 2D front facing mode. I'm gonna go clear, I'm going to shift D, and I'm just going to simply move these in place. I'm clicking R to rotate them, G to move them, shift D again, R to rotate them, G to move them. Super quick and easy. Now because it's on different angles of her face, they might not fit perfectly, so we might have to modify them. Let's see. Yeah, we're gonna have to modify them, so let's start. We don't have to do much. Let's start with this middle one, tab, just push that in a little bit more. That's it, really. That's all I think. Push it in just a little bit more. And I'm liking that. And then tab to come out of that. Click that, tab again. Push it in a little bit more. And yeah. Take this out a little bit more. I like that. And we're done. Got the whiskers. Beautiful, beautiful. So for the shirt, remember I told you to duplicate the body and create the shirt. Let's turn this back on. And it's still here. So here it is on. Right now it's kind of clipping through the belly. So we're going to go to sculpt mode. And we're going to pull it out this way, just a little bit. And we're going to shade smooth, see how what we're looking like. Not much we got to do to it. I wouldn't do much. Now, we are going to use what's called the Boolean tool. We're going to use this Boolean tool to cut essentially a hole in this shirt so we get this little loop. So to do this, I'm just going to take this nose, to be honest. This is going to be what we're going to cut into it. I'm going to size up, I'm going to turn on the see-through, I'm going to size up this nose, push it down to match up with the hole of the shirt. Always make sure that you're cutting, whatever you're cutting into actually pushes through the object, if that makes sense. So essentially, we're using this object to make a hole in this object. That's what the Boolean does. So you're always going to select what's making the cut first, what you want to cut into second, Control, Shift, B, remember Command if you're on Apple. We're going to hit difference. You can also hit union if you wanted to connect these and make them one. Oh, Control Shift B, or intersect or slice, but we're doing difference. And there we go. We've got the hole that it made. Can play around with this a little bit if you wanted to. I think I'll just maybe smooth it a little bit. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I'll just smooth it a little bit. And then I'll also just flatten this a little bit. Now, I made the mistake of not duplicating the nose. Because whenever you boolean something, whatever you're cutting into the object will disappear. So I was supposed to duplicate the nose, so we have the nose and we have this hole. But now the nose has disappeared, so we're just going to have to make a new one. In the future though, you would duplicate and then create the hole. And you would still have your original object, but I didn't do that. So it was just a simple sphere anyways. So let's add that back. Alright. She's so Hello Kitty, isn't she? Wow, look at us. Okay. Now we're going to make little buttons on her shirt. This is also super simple. I'm going to Shift A. Oh, actually, let's shade smooth here. I'm going to Shift A, add a cylinder. I'm going to size it down with S. I'm going to R90, Y it. Then I'm going to go to see-through, go to G to move it about in place, G, S to size it, excuse me, and then on her actual model it's kind of like curved up. Where did that just go? It's kind of curved up, so we're going to push it into place and then kind of curve it up, curve it up and out of it, out. Ooh, if it wants to, out. There we go. Just like that. And remember I was telling you about shade smooth earlier. This is an object that we want to shade auto smooth. Auto smooth. Now, this is kind of a hard edge, don't you think, for our model? So we're going to go into edit mode by hitting tab. We're going to go to edge mode. And we're going to bevel those edges right here, this edge right here, which just makes the edge a bit softer. In order to do that, we're going to select one edge, hold down Shift, Alt, the Alt key, and then hit the one next to it. And that's just going to select all the edges. So without the Alt key, if we hit Shift, we would have to click one at a time. But with one, Shift Alt, it'll select all the edges. I'm going to Control B for bevel, and I'm going to pull it back. And that's just kind of making the edge softer. Right now, if you look up to the left, it says we only have one segment. Oh, what did I just do? We only have one segment, right? If I scroll up on my mouse wheel, it adds 2 segments, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And the edge becomes softer and softer. But for this, I would say just maybe 2 segments. Click to confirm, click to get off, tab to get out of edit mode, and see how the edge was much softer than before. It was such like a harsh line. Looks good now. So I'm going to, you can probably guess what we're going to do, mirror it over the shirt, over the Y, just the Y. There we go. Alright, everything is looking good. Last but not least, we are going to do the bow. So, let's bring up that bow picture. Let's bring it over here. I'm going to go to clear mode. I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to R rotate and try to get this bow as close as to sitting on this line perfectly as I can. Like that. You just want these 2 points to be sitting on the line. And then I am going to select these the bow placeholders we had. Oops. The bow placeholders we had. I'm going to G, bring them over here. R, rotate them. I'm going to G, move this one. And remember, we're just making placeholders like we did in the beginning with Hello Kitty. We're going to kind of get it where we want it. S sizing them like always. That seems good to me. I'm going to bring this reference photo behind it. And I'm going to bring this up like this. There we go. So we're going to go through each shape and we're going to sculpt it. Just like we did with Hello Kitty. So we're going to click this shape, we're going to sculpt. clear mode, and we're just going to pull it into place. Super simple. By this point, you should be able to do it by yourself. So I'm going to skip this point and show you what I have at the end. Okay, after that you should have a little something like this. Now I'm just going to join them. I'm going to Control A, apply those transformations, reset my origin, and I'm going to head back into sculpt mode. From the side, I am going to push those in a little bit. And for this, because it's an asymmetrical bow, we're not using the symmetry. I'm going to remesh it so that I can begin sculpting a little bit more. So I'm going to bring down this just a little bit, just eyeballing it. Control R, remeshing it. I'm going to use this blob tool to get these little holes here. Now right now, if you look up over here, you see we're on the plus. So if I try to put it here, it's actually going to add a blob. We want to subtract a blob. So I'm going to hit subtract. And that's going to start putting a hole inside of it. So that's way too big. Bring it down. Go to clear mode so I can go about where it is. Just like this. See what we did. It looks good to me. And for most tools, it'll have that add and subtract up there. That just means you're either adding it on top of your model or you're going into your model with that shape. I'm going to go to the smooth tool, smooth this out a bit. I'm going to go back to layout. I'm going to see how it's looking if I shade smooth. It's a little wrinkly, so I'm going to go back into sculpting, and I'm going to continue to smooth it out just a bit. Now we're going to put this bow on Miss Kitty. G S R G S R G R G. Okay. And now her bow's kind of leaning back a bit, so let's push it. Push it back like that. And then push it back. And I'm actually going to squeeze it a bit like that. To me, that looks pretty good. And now you're done with our Hello Kitty model. So now we're going to move on to adding texture, adding a camera, which we already have, and then adding lights, and finally rendering our final image. So we're at the home stretch. Save again. I'm gonna get rid of this side reference because we really don't need it anymore. I'm gonna delete this backup model because everything worked out. We didn't need it anyways. And I like to clean up at this point. So now we are going to go into what is called Material Preview. This, if it's your very first time opening Blender and getting to Material Preview, may take a minute to load. So again, go ahead and save before you do that, just in case it messes things up. We're going to hit Z, Material Preview. Alright, so this is what color everything is right now, which we don't want it to be. I want Hello Kitty to be Hello Kitty colored. So let's go down So let's add a material to her. We are going to click her body. We're going to go down to the material tab, material properties. We're going to click new. Alright, this is our material that we're working with. Now, this may be a glitch within Blender, but my IOR levels right here, index of refraction, is always at 1.5 when it shouldn't be. When you went to this mode, it may be red, it might have been white like it's supposed to. It's supposed to be white. And mine always ends up red because this is at 1.5 when it's supposed to be at 1. Now it's at white. That just, I don't know why that happens, but it does. So if everything's red for you, go to IOR, tongue twister, IOR, and make it 1. So Hello Kitty's white. So we can just leave that at the color that it's automatically at. Or if you wanted to make, I don't know, tan Hello Kitty, you could. If you wanted to make a blue Hello Kitty, you could, but I'm going to just leave her white for this tutorial. But do whatever you want at this point. Next we're going to go to her eyes. Again, we're going to add a new material. We'll change that to 1, and it goes back to white. I want her eyes to be black though. I'm just going to go to black. Very simple. Same with her whiskers. I'm going to make each of her whiskers black. Okay. Gonna make her nose that yellowy color. And if you forget what colors you need to use, you can always turn the references back on, but I'm just going by memory. Or just do whatever you want as far as color. That looks about right to me. I want her bow to be pink, personally. Oh, that looks pretty to me. And I want her vest to be the same pink, so I'm going to click on this color, click on the color code, just copy it simply, click on her shirt, change that to 1, and then just paste it right here. Alright, time for the very final part. We are going to set up our camera and our light, and we're going to take our final render photo. So in order to do this, we're going to have to go to render mode. Now if you made it this far, no computer issues, wonderful. But this may be the one to take people out. So if you go to render mode and your computer just gives up on you, it's alright, you've made it this far. For the rest of us, let's hit Z, let's hit rendered. Let's hope everything, oh, you know what, I didn't save. Now Z, rendered. Boom, we survived. Alright, those of you who survived, we're now going to set up the camera and then set up the lighting. This is our camera here. Anytime we open up a scene, Blender just has these automatic cameras and lights. So that's fine, we'll just use this. Remember that was up here. In order to view what the camera is viewing, we're going to click this camera button. So this is the angle we're at right now. I don't really like that, so we're going to unlock the camera by just clicking that over here. And we're just going to begin holding middle mouse button to move it around, holding shift to move it around, same way you would move an object. Zooming in and zooming out, moving it around, and go at any angle you want. For me, I think I'm just gonna give it a little 3/4 angle. Maybe at this side, I like this side better. Zoom in a bit. Now if you wanted to change your focal length, get really weird with it, like that, you can get really funny with it. That's one way, but I'm not gonna do that for my render. But if you wanted to get funny with it, you could, change the focal length but the standard is 50. That's what I'm gonna do. I think it's 70 for film, but we're just gonna do 50. But play with that however you want. You can scroll up and down, zoom in and out with the different lengths and see what it does. But yeah, like I said, we're doing 50. Set up the camera however you want. When you're done, make sure you click that lock button to set it. So now it's locked like that. Just click outside anywhere to get out of there. So now our camera is set up. Now let's set up the light. Right here. So the light that it gives us automatically is a point light, which basically acts like a light bulb. So light is emitting from this. I know the name is a little bit misleading. You would think point light, you can point it in a direction and that's the way the light would go. It doesn't work like that. It works more like a light bulb. So think of the point light as a light bulb. Sun is a sun. It's the brightest light, probably one of the easier ones to use just because it's so bright. And change the strength here. Change the color. Feel free to use any light you want. You don't have to use the exact same one that I use, but just going through them all. And then we have the spotlight. Again, self-explanatory. Turn that up. Spotlight. And then we have the area light. I'm going to be using the area light for my setup. So for this front one, I'm going to use G to move it. I'm going to turn it so it's just head on with her. Like that. Just like that, directly pointing at her. And I'm going to make it probably a neutral, maybe a warm sun color, maybe? I don't know. Let's change the world light so I can see better. So let's go over to world, and our world is just our world. All this space back here. We can change that color too. We can change it to white, to pink, to blue, to black. I think I'm gonna change it to maybe dark pink. Is that too much pink? I'm gonna go back to the light. Down here, at our data. And I'm going to just duplicate this light. Shift D, I'm gonna G, and then I'm gonna hit Z to move it up and down the Z axis. And then I'm going to rotate it up. And I'm going to make it maybe 10,000 watts. And I'm going to change it to blue, dark blue, to give her like a blue, like blue light is coming up to kind of, I don't know, make it artsy. And then I'm going to give her maybe a bright backlight. So I'm gonna shift D, G to move, and then I'm gonna click X to move along the X axis. Perfectly like that. And then I'm gonna point it at her back. Now for this, because it's a backlighting, I want it to be really bright. So maybe, let's see, like that. Yes, I want a really bright outline. Once you have everything, ooh, I love that. Once you have everything the way that you like it, we can just simply render. To do that, go ahead and file save, render image, pop-up window will come. Here we go. And look what happened. what did I say earlier? You forget to turn off the camera view, so the camera is capturing all this crazy stuff. So let's make sure we turn off camera view here. Anything that we don't want the camera to see. See, I forgot to do that. Okay, that should be good. Let's try again. Beautiful. And that is our image. And to save this to your computer, just image, save as, and save as you would anything else. And we are done. Congratulations, you have successfully modeled Hello Kitty on Blender. Not so bad. If you did follow along this tutorial and you made yourself a Hello Kitty, I would love to see her. You can tag me on Instagram or on X. All my social media is down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next video.